So love is a fluctuating thing. Even if you get married and you love the guy, sometimes you'll find out you love him that much, sometimes that much, sometimes how did I get into this? So love is a fluctuating thing, not fixed. A lot of people lie about me. They say Fresco receives money from the Vatican. He receives money from the One Worlders, or he receives money from the banking institutions. They'll lie about anybody that's trying to affect change. You must expect that. If you get up and fight years ago for women's rights, you had rotten eggs thrown at you. Women were not allowed to vote in America. And when they fought against child labor in factories, the people that marched for it had rotten eggs thrown. They were beaten up by police. Police serve whatever nation is around. They don't give a shit about people. If a policeman really cared and if you're driving fast, he'd say, pull over, and then he'd say, do you have a driver's license? And he shows it. He'd say, well, what's your hurry? He'd say, well, I think my kid's sick. Or my boss said, if I come late again, I'll lose my job. He said, well, be careful next time. See, isn't it, where'd you learn to drive? Let me see you drive. These are bullies, not people. And people that work in prisons are very stupid as a rule. Now, when a man steals a watch worth $150, third time, third offense, they put him in jail for 6 years. You know how many watches that costs? Figure it out. You give him medical care, food for 6 years. It's cheaper to give him a watch. Think about it. The management of your country and all countries are by stupid people, very stupid. Now, I don't want you to take my word for it. Walk over to any politician and say, how would you prevent cars from hitting each other? I don't know. How can you grow more food so people are well fed? I don't know. How can you prevent war? I don't know. They don't know anything, believe me. They are businessmen. Another thing I want to say about politicians is that they do say things people like to hear. When people, most of them, believed the earth was flat, there was a time when they did. The politician would say, folks, the earth is a little round and a little flat, and you get along with everybody. It is not the business of science to get along with anybody. It's to tell the truth. If you believe the earth is flat, they show you all kinds of instruments and all the indications that make them believe it's round. So when I was a kid, I said, well, some of you know I'm 94 years old. But when I was 21, I said, how are you going to change the world? So many different kinds of people. In the Arab world, the guy has 6 wives, and that's normal there. In other countries, they wear a bone through their nose. People are so different. How are you going to change them? And the first thing you have to learn to say, which is most difficult, I don't know. So, I'm going to tell you what thinking is. Thinking is talking to yourself. When I say, I'll see you Saturday, he looks up and says, I have to take the kids to Aunt Minnie Saturday, I can't see you. Thinking is nothing magic. It's talking to yourself. So in talking to myself, I said, how are you going to change the world? And I said, I didn't know. So I said, why don't you try to find out if your system works? I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So I joined the Ku Klux Klan. How many of you knew that? And I dissolved it in a month and a half alone in Miami. There were about 32 members in that group. Then I joined the White Citizens Council. They hate foreigners, all foreigners, and I dissolved that in 1 month. Then I went to Brooklyn, and I came back from California into Brooklyn, and I asked a lot of people what the most backward people were in Brooklyn. They said the Arabs that live in Atlantic Avenue. I said, what makes you think the Arabs are backward? They still believe the earth is flat. So I thought, boy, if I can't change them, how am I going to change the world? So I called the leader. You always deal with the leader of the group. That goes for the Klan, too. I called the leader, His name was Elbaz. He was an Arab, obviously. And he said to me first thing on the phone, "You're Arab?" With that kind of face. I said, "Yeah, that means yes in Arabic. I speak a little bit of many languages." So he said, "From where your father he born?" I said, "Lebanon." He said, "Very good, come and saw me. Come and see me." So I came to see him, and he said to me, "You believe the world is round?" I said, "Yes." He went. That means where he comes from, that makes sense. Can't be. So I said, he said, he pointed to his head first to show me how smart he was. He went like this, then he said, "If the world he round, like that, man fall me down here. All the water he fall me down from the world." So I said, "Boy, if I can't turn that guy around, how am I going to turn the world around?" So I gave him a balloon that I brought with me, and I rubbed it with fur real fast. I put cornflakes in his hand and told him to hold his hand away from the balloon. Does anybody know what happens if you rub a balloon and hold your hand on it with cornflakes? All the cornflakes jump up to the balloon. They're electrostatically attracted. And he scratched his head, his jaw hit the paper. He said, "World he magnet?" I said, "Eh, ah." And he explained that to all the other Arabs. In an hour and a half, I turned something they believed in all their lives. Now, of course, that's not easy to do with religion, because I had two Catholic priests used to attend my seminars. And one of them said, "The trouble with you, Fresco, is you want to make the world a better place. My kingdom is up there." I said, "You ought to read your Bible. Jesus said, 'Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.'" There's no money, no business, no private ownership. So I would say the Venus Project is the nearest thing to religion, but only it's not verbal, it's real. Now, they also say that when I went to religious schools, they told me God knows everything. He made every galaxy, every bug, every flower, every plant. And I thought, all right, maybe he does. But so why did Jesus insult God? The priest says, "I don't remember Jesus insulting God." Well, here's when he did. It says in the Bible, just before Jesus was nailed to the cross, or crucified, he looked up and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And God said, "Gee, I never thought of that." Don't you see how ridiculous that is? Telling God to forgive them for they didn't know what they're doing, as though God didn't know that. And then when you say, "It hadn't rained for years, my corn is drying up, I need rain," dig a ditch and irrigate the area. God said, "By their work you shall know them," not their bullshit. And once you get in church, "God, I need a new car, my wife needs a job," you're all dictating to God what to do. So man makes God in his own image. Some guy sitting on a throne that looks down at the world and says, "If you don't behave yourself, I'm going to flood the whole damn thing." Now, this doesn't sound like God that loves everybody. So he told Noah to build himself an ark and take two kinds of every animal. But of course they don't tell you where he got the polar bear and the giraffe. But let's say he got two kinds of every animal. If he did, the boat would be a mile long. Who cleans the shit out of that boat? So that's what I mean by everything has to change in the world, because we live in a very old system. I'm not talking about technology. That's racing forward. But human values are the same. They're not moving. And I'm talking to you about a different kind of world where there's no crime, no serial killers, no hungry people, no armies, navies, police, or prisons. Well, they say man has always been evil ever since he was created. Now, the story they tell us, God made a woman and a man and set them in a beautiful garden. And according to the Bible, snakes used to walk upright.